Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'm sorry, but Pat's not well. Paul's not on, and I'm still waiting for Jolene to come on. So hopefully she will come on soon. But thank you for tuning in, everyone. Everything's going good up here. We're pretty busy getting candidates together, actually, for elections. And Pat's looking at maybe he'll have 10 characters in the London area, inner and outer London. We've already got absolutely 3 committed characters, which is Pat, Pauline and Andy. And they've signed up with their local councils, so they're able to get the book of register, everyone, all the electoral information. So that's good. So that's in London. We're all going to be busy in the Wirral next couple of weeks, and we may have at least another one candidate across the Merseyside area. So you'll have to excuse me, guys. I'm on my own at the moment. And I'm just looking at my phone, so bear with me. Good evening, Tommy Trump. Good evening, Serena. I changed my phone and I haven't got Jolene's number in WhatsApp now. I don't know why. Yeah, because I changed my phone and I didn't swap my contacts. Like the most stupid thing you can ever do in your entire life. Just trying to think where to send that link now. Right, I'll have to send it to the. So while I'm on, I'll just get up some. Some good pictures around Belfast. We went out to George Bestie's area. Sorry, guys, just bear with me. I'm just trying to find out where me. All right, no problem. Right, we'll be there in a sec, guys. We will be there in a sec. We will be there in a sec. I've just got a number now. Here we go. We'll be on in a sec, guys. Thank you very much. Right. Right, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, as you can see, I just thought I'd put some of the pictures up that we took around Belfast when we were there in July. Really colourful place, and you won't go. What? just check. Right, let me just bear with me, guys. Sorry about this. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Problems there, John?
I have been. Good evening, Jolene.
Good evening, darling. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just flicking through a few of the pictures I took, and as you already know, I went last year to Northern Ireland. It's so colourful. You don't go more than one street without seeing a Union Jack or a flag outside someone else. It's really refreshing. Because like where I live in central Oldham, we don't have things like this.
I know in England, I have heard police would be at your door if you had a Union flag out.
Probably, yeah. Probably. Honestly, you just couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. But it's really colourful. And where we're staying at, the morning I got up, I walked onto Lansdowne Road, I think it is, and walked past one of the police stations. I have got some pictures of it on here, but I was walking the wrong way. I was walking away from town. I didn't realise because I was just enjoying walking around, looking down the streets and, everything around and stuff like that. I did a little video outside cop shop, said it's like not a police station. There aren't police stations in England like this. This is like that cop. It's like a prison. And it was truly amazing. I took a lot of photographs because I want to do some thumbnails and stuff like that with them when I get into it.
There's some absolutely gorgeous portraits around all of Belfast, Australia. You can go throughout Northern Ireland and you see some absolutely beautiful paintings, especially to the two world wars. Just absolutely outstanding memorials to them throughout the country, and the wee country areas. John, next time you're over, we'll have to take a drive and go to the wee country areas because they are just the same. And I think when we were in Larne, we were at Glynn with the big picture on the road. Do you remember that 2 years ago?
Yeah, unbelievable. I just want to point us somewhere. I'm just going to get your tweet up if I can find it. So this is very interesting what I've seen. So that's your tweet. Get onto StreamYard. So yeah, this is very interesting stuff that I've seen coming out of Northern Ireland now with. So this tweet you did. You don't see this every day. Loyalists, Republicans, Catholics and Protestants standing united against immigration in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And that's like, as far as I know about Northern Ireland, like you just don't even go into their side of the road and stuff like that. The first time we were there, and we was walking up to Sandy Row, and the inspector seen us. He said, yeah, you're fine walking that way, then turn left. But what he said, you don't cross the road here and don't go on the other side. And, all these years of troubles between Protestants and Catholics, yet they're coming together now because they see that the country's being changed dramatically.
John, for years I have tried to warn people that this was going to happen because I seen the examples that you guys were setting in England, and I knew that one day it was going to hit home, and it has very much hit home, and people are fed up with it. And it is so great to see both Catholics, Protestants, Republicans, and Loyalists coming together to stand together against this. I mean, we may not agree, and I'm one of these people, John, who you know, I don't need to agree with you to speak to you and to have a conversation with you. And a lot of people feel that you do kind of need to agree with everything that someone says in order to have dialogue with them. I don't think that's true at all. So it was great to have Catholics and Protestants standing together and actually talking about the issues that are facing both our communities, and the real issue, and I think we'll both agree on this, is immigration in the UK. It's terrifying, to be honest with you, John, what has happened within the last few weeks in regards to trying to speak out against immigration. As you know, I've had my fair share of tyranny when coming up against the establishment. But this is people writing Facebook posts with distaste for their country being flooded with illegal immigrants, and they're being arrested. And I've seen that on multiple occasions. I've seen young lads who have never been arrested in their lives being sent to prison for having such disgust after years of crying about it to establishment after establishment, asking people to help in this situation. And people took to social media to defend, and they took to the streets, and it was good to see the momentum growing and the politicians getting afraid of immigration again. And it is good to hold their toes to the fire on this issue, because if we're not allowed to speak about it. Everyone's too afraid to speak about it. But if we don't speak about it, John, we can't fix it. And it is going to end up in violence. And unfortunately, there was a little bit of violence. But I mean, you know how the media like to rile everything up. They're now being called far right rats, which is completely bewildering to me when you look at last summer and the rats that actually happened that they wouldn't call rats. So it's really frustrating for me, for people to not celebrate a union, an Ulster flag and a tricolour, a union flag and a tricolour at City Hall. And the media is not picking up on that. They're saying that these are riots and these are far right thugs, as our Prime Minister likes to see this. Reality is, this is concerned parents, and they are not going to just stop at this, and there will be more protests, and they may take a lull for a while, but I have no doubt that people will take to the streets. And John, you know, I have taken a back seat in politics at the minute. I'm not overly outspoken at the minute. I'm focusing on family time and my two children, and I am absolutely horrified that there is no leadership whatsoever coming forward to lead these people to a peaceful solution. Instead, they're being demonized and called thugs, and well, we can only imagine, we can only go through some of the names that the media have called the protesters, when really this is concerned parents who are genuinely concerned about their children's future and their nation.
Yeah, it's thingy. It's a lot of more people now, even like people who aren't politically minded, are seeing such the hypocrisy of the government and stuff like that. I was reading a couple of articles about Sandy Row because there was trouble there, and a guy who used to be a local councillor for years, and then he comes on and he says, look, the media and all the other parties start calling us far right. They never called me far right 10 years ago when I said stuff, but they're calling us far right now. And, you know, there is no, if you want to say there's far right, it's a minority in every group. But at the moment, when the left or the media say far right, they sound like they're saying it to everyone, Jolene, not just picking on a minority of people. Because, you know, imagine if I started saying all Muslims are terrorists, you know, generalizing like they
But John, John, let's take it back. Let's take it back. Okay, yes, there was trouble in Sandy Row. There was a few bins set on fire. I know the businesses were targeted, and I absolutely don't condone that in any way, shape, or form. However, John, let's look at the situation on the ground, because it was something that the media, you know, and even social media didn't pick up on. When I arrived in South Belfast that day, I arrived just a street down from the local mosque, and I parked in the street down from the local mosque, and I walked up to the main street where the university is, just off the Lisburn Road there, and there was three Land Rovers and umpteen police officers in the middle of the road at the top of the street where the mosque is. John, there was no one around. There had been a protest at City Hall. They had ventured near that area as far as I could pick up. I hadn't actually been at the protest at City Hall, but I had heard that there was trouble. So I went to find out what was going on, try and keep the peace, try and speak to people, because I know that as soon as the first bottle's thrown, we're demonized, and they won't speak to us then about immigration. They just won't speak about immigration, but they definitely won't speak to us if we dare, actually get really fed up with them not listening. But anyway, so apparently there had been a protest at City Hall. The boys had walked around, got close to this mosque, and the police presence in that area, John, was ridiculous. But it wasn't that the police were effective in any way. There was three Land Rovers, umpteen policemen, but I was able to walk right around them and take a video. It was actually me taking the video of the Land Rovers in the middle of the road, where we were able to walk past them, we were able to walk around them. There was no reason for them being there other than to cause a scene of some sort, John. And then later on, an hour or so later, then it turned out there was then quite a bit of trouble. But for me, I was very confused of what the PSNI were doing. For me, it was for the cameras. It was to show on the media that they had been out in force, or I'm not really 100% sure what the tactic of the PSNI was, but it was very noticeable that there was no protesters on the ground. There certainly wasn't anyone who was in any way threatening the PSNI at this point, and these policemen were set ready for a riot with their lights going and their shields up. And I just thought, this is bizarre, and this is what we have to be very wary of, John, is that the media like to hype these things up. One other night, I also seen a Twitter feed from again media tell me that my local area there was trouble in my local area, and I straight away went out in the car to see if I could help in any way. And I got down to where this so-called journalist had said that this had happened. There had been an incident earlier on in the day, but because of this tweet going out, there had now become a crowd, and it was a crowd of confused people who had turned up expecting trouble, and there was no trouble, John. There was no one in any way threatening anyone. The police weren't really in the area. They had there had been an incident involving a very, very small number of people. I think those people were arrested subsequently to that. But as I say, there was no rat as such, but this journalist is hyping it up as if there's a rat going on, and it brought out a crowd. And then as I was speaking to people, because obviously I was walking around speaking to the crowd, and as I was speaking to the crowd were confused, and they were everyone I spoke to was concerned about immigration, and said that they're not surprised that it had come to that in this area because of the reports that have been coming in. And John, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I had a immigrant of some sort with very poor English go to an old constituent. You know, I was elected for the area. The first person, of course, they came to was myself. But they rapped the door and told him to take his union flag down, or else. I have had complaint after complaint. As I say, John, people still contact me because I was a councillor for the area, and they'll still talk to me about these issues. Complaint after complaint about alleyways where there are a large number of people living in houses in this area who are causing a nuisance and just throwing their rubbish in an alleyway instead of using bins and things like that. And John, it's happening all around the country. It's happening all around Northern Ireland. It's happening all around England, Scotland, and Wales, and no one is addressing the issues.
No, they're not. You're right. Well, they're afraid to address the issues, and you know, I just want accountability to me, and the fact that like over the time I've lived in Oldham, they've never really tackled like the grooming gangs. There's never been any like accountability from other community members, but the rubbish on the streets, the state antisocial behaviour, all that goes on in Oldham. Just like you were saying there, the backing's full of rubbish. One house were counted 15 people. 15 people were counted coming out of the house when they had to evacuate in Manchester. 15 people in just like a tourist house. So that house wouldn't have had more than 2 bedrooms, and there was 15 people come out, overcrowding. They turned that houses into HMOs, which causes more traffic on the roads and stuff like that. Some of the roads near me where I'm running, one woman says, until they made 2 or 3 HMOs on this row, she said you could easily park your car, but now they're HMOs. There's like another 10 vehicles extra, all around the area. You can't move. But the antisocial behaviour and the rubbish you mentioned, that is exactly what it's like in Oldham. But, unfortunately, the evidence we've got is that we have to teach some of these people when they come over how to live. That's one of the things.
And do you know what, John? That would be absolutely great if they would learn the language. And that I did have that at council. We need to teach them, and I said, well, then you're going to have to get the rubbish details, all the documentation for how to put your rubbish in your bin. You're going to have to get it broken down, and then you're going to have to get it translated into every language, because it's every other nationality that is in our nation, and they're not being facilitated properly, John. And this is what happens when we open the floodgates. And it was something that was brought up multiple times, over the years, that but when they're coming in and these people aren't integrating, they're not learning the language, then it's an issue. And and there was an argument at one of the protests that I was at, and not an argument as such, but someone said about immigration, and they said, well, illegal immigration. And what we said is, John, how can we tell who's illegal and who isn't, unless we're walking up to people and asking for paperwork? And does it really matter if these people are replacing us illegally or legally? We need to catch a grip as a nation, and the only people who are going to be able to change this are the government. And if we think a Labour government are going to help in any way, shape, or form, you'd be living in cloud cuckoo land. But I mean, the Conservatives weren't much better, so I can live with tyranny for 4 years if it gets us a proper government at the end of it. And it is about times that what you see from the Labour Party is what we will have if we don't get leadership in this country dealing with the issues that are on the ground and dealing with the rubbish. And never mind the posh people in their ivory towers who probably have never been in an alleyway with a rubbish bin in their lives. Let's start thinking about the mass amount of people. And what will get them thinking about us is when we get out to vote. And when we actually use our vote to vote for something different, that's when they'll be scared. So I just, as usual, encourage everyone to get registered to vote and vote en masse. It is no use just some of us voting. We need everyone to get registered to vote, and we need to be out voting for someone who is proud to be British and wants our British heritage and our British culture kept in Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And John, as I say, I've taken a big, massive step back in politics, mainly for my family reasons, and had a lot of stress on lately. I still have ongoing court cases, still running in the background. And, you know, and I went through a lot, and I thought to myself, it's time for just some downtime. I will be back, hopefully, in the political scene at some stage, but someone needs to step up to the leadership role, and we really need all our leaders stepping forward and coming out of the woodwork. And if you feel like you want to be a leader, contact John, and he will be sure to put you on the right path. We need our leaders, John, is the reality. If we don't have leaders from our communities coming forward, we're going to lose this nation.
Yeah, I agree. So do you hear that, guys? Get voting. Thanks, love. Sorry about that. The political landscape's changed a lot. So in Oldham, we have 3 major members of Parliament: Angela Rayner, Deborah Abrams, Jim McManaman. And because of Reform and the Workers' Party in the north of Manchester, them 3 MPs, the majorities that they won by was so much lower than they've ever won before. As in, Angela Rayner got 28,000 votes when she first became a member of Parliament, if not more. Now she's under 25. She's on about 15,000 now because of these other parties. And I don't care if people don't like Reform or they don't like the Workers' Party, because they're involved. They're taking votes off Labour and Tories. And I'm sure that next year we are going to see a serious change in members of Parliament across the country, not just in Oldham, but across the country. And it might be Workers' Party, it might be Reform. You know, it could be anybody, but it's going to change.
John, if you know, I absolutely agree with you. And can you imagine if we were to work together to say, you know, only Reform stand there, and the other party step aside? The Workers' Party in Northern Ireland is different from the one in Oldham. But you know, if we were to work together, John, I'm not expecting everyone to agree. I'm not expecting parties to merge when they have different policies. That's not what unity I see coming. I see unity as in dialogue. Speak to the people who are speaking out about immigration, and if your nation is what's number one on the agenda, then each party should make sacrifices, and it might not be sacrifices they like, but they should be able to make the sacrifice that they need in order to ensure that we get the right representation. And John, and I have looked at stat after stat after stat, and I have no doubt that your constituency is the exact same. See, the people who aren't registered to vote, John, they need to be registered. They need to get out and vote, because they are the people who are most likely going to vote in our favour, because they're the people from the estates. They're the people who are living in the same places we are, and and having the same issues we are. And I know that these people are the ones who aren't registered to vote. They're not even included in the stats anymore, John, because they, you know, and that's where we are going to lose it, because although we are still the majority for now, we have to manipulate politics to make sure that we stay the majority.
Yeah, definitely. Benno, I can't believe that. No, you're right, Jolene. You know, a lot of people don't vote. They've got to get out and vote. People don't realise, if people pulled the fingers out, and a lot of these people who complain but they never vote, we'd wipe the system out. If people stood up and voted, I think we should. I'm thinking about emailing Oldham Council and said to them, if you don't send out a letter to all voters, and if you don't vote, charge them a £5.
Absolutely. No, I would be hitting them with bigger fines than that, John. You know, people fought and died for this. You know, catch yourself on. If you really are proud of your nation, get out and vote.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
And listen, John, you know, I live in West Belfast. I don't have much to vote for, but I still go and use my vote.
Well, I've got a campaign running. I give myself 5 years. I've got 2026, my next election, and I've made myself known through going to meetings with the council, chief executives, housing managers, and stuff like that, and I'm supporting residents, and I'm able to sit down, discuss things, debate about stuff, try and support people with their issues. I've got a lot of door knocking still to do, but I'm loving it, Jolene. I'm loving it, and this is my niche. I found the place where I'm going to do well, which is on a local level, local politics, community politics, knocking on doors and talking to people about any kind of issue. I'm not afraid to talk about particular issues. If someone comes to the door, I'll talk about it. But, a lot of people say they don't get that kind of talk off your general Labour or your Conservative. They've just got... I mean, a lot of the Labour candidates, all they have on their leaflets is just calling the Tories. That's all they do, just call the Tories on the leaflets. But, there's never anything substantial on the leaflets. Like,
John, you what I know that you kept up to date with my campaign in 2019. These people and their flashy turkey teeth on their posters, it kills me. Why are you on that poster? I want to know what you stand for. I don't want to know who you are. I don't want to know what you look like. I want to know what your policies are. And John, they have got away with this for years. They have hidden behind their fake smiles and their ivory towers, and it disgusts me. So I decided on my campaign I was going to have my policies, and you know what, it worked. It did. Well, it didn't work, I didn't get elected, but the concept of it really did. It resonated so well, and it was different from what anybody else is doing, which is bizarre, because I was just putting my policies onto my posters to tell people what they were voting for. It shouldn't be like that, John. We should know what we're voting for. And I'm from a constituency who I know there are people who put their ones in ballots because they have no idea what is in that manifesto. And if they knew what was in the manifesto, they would never vote for these people, but they've never lifted the manifesto to check.
Yeah. I mean, look, I can't believe people are falling for it when Labour, Keir Starmer's going to be cutting the winter fuel payments. They're going to take down the Tory policy of housing British citizens first. That's going out the window, and stuff like that.
John,
and people still vote. It's going on my leaflet. I will go on my leaflet and say that they tell lies.
Listen, I am just hoping and praying that that this tyrannical government will only last one term, and that we will get rid of them, which I believe they will destroy themselves. I believe they'll destroy themselves. This is biblical, John. It's not no secret that they are going to destroy themselves, and they'll not get in the next election. Problem is, who's going to replace them? Is it going to be the Conservatives again? Because that's no use either. We need someone who is going to put a halt to all immigration and sort the country out and ensure that we have enough resources for our nation to survive, because right now we are plummeting into a third world country because we don't have enough resources to sustain this.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, it's scary, and it's even just more scary now. It's so more scary now. And I mean, the amount of people being attacked and the stuff going on, and like no one's talking about it. And when you look at the news, they never mention like cultural things. They're going on about the Taliban have banned women from this and women's rights in Afghanistan, but at the same time, they don't tell you that they invite all them Afghanistan men over here. All them men come over here, and how blind are we? Obviously, when our troops were in the Middle East, we had people who were supporting them who were from over there. And what people don't realise is that them people are more extreme than the people we're fighting against. It's just that they're at.
So even if they were Britain's biggest supporters and they loved the troops being there and everything else, they have never experienced civilization in a way that they can assimilate just simply into our nation. So it doesn't matter how much they love the nation at this point. They don't have the civilized attitudes, I suppose, but they don't have the civilized culture that we do, and they're coming and they're destroying our nation. So someone has to say, no, you're not destroying our nation because you've already destroyed your own nation by your infighting and your bickering over a false god anyway. So you're not coming in here, you're not destroying this nation over semantics about whether you're one type of Muslim or another type of Muslim. It's a Christian country and we should be respected for that. And these people coming in here and bringing their arguments from their own home nations and bringing it here just isn't acceptable. And the sooner someone puts a stop to it, the better, because I mean, I just don't understand, John, why we're allowing it to happen as a nation, and it's been abuse of our government for years that this has happened. Abuse of our government for years. And I don't blame these people for wanting a better life, because if I was elsewhere, I would want to come to the UK too. But our government can't be giving them everything for free. They can't. We just can't, and it's as simple as that. And the sooner someone catches this mess and starts to clean it up, the better it'll be for all of us. Unfortunately, John, it is very unlikely that's ever going to be fully restored to the Great Britain that we once loved. But if we can just try to put a cap on it and try to make this nation back to a civilized nation again, where there's no machetes on the streets, where children are safe and not being abused, that we are able to let our children out during the day. Now it's unsafe to let your children out on the streets, even in Northern Ireland. So someone has to catch a grip, and for all the people who are coming here for a better life, and they want to come and they want to put to make Britain great again, then that's fine. But for now, I think we should just stop it altogether until such times that we catch a grip of who we have in this nation and who we don't, because that's another thing that has to be spoke about, John. They use all these different terms. So we have refugees, we have asylum seekers, we have migrants, we have all these different terms for people coming to our country from other nations. And it makes the figures seem a lot smaller than they actually are, because they're split into 6 or 7 categories. And then when you actually look at the census stats, and 16% of the nation are from another country, and I'm kind of thinking, well, that's highly under the exact numbers, because no illegal immigrants included in that. If they didn't speak English, they may not have returned their census forms. There's so many reasons why people wouldn't return their census forms and take the fine, that I think the reality is a whole lot worse than 16%, and 16% of a nation is a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, there's figures saying that people who aren't registered, who have just disappeared, is like over 1 million to 2 million. But I think it's more than that, mate.
Yeah.
I really do. And they're just not telling us. You know what I mean? And even though they say that immigrants put into the economy, I don't think they do. I haven't seen proper statistics, but I always get told that they put in more than they take out or whatever, in tax and all that lot. But I just don't reckon, because my town of Oldham, in the town centre, we've got 50 kebab houses, chicken shops, that kind of sort of stuff. And if there's 4 people in every one of them shops, not everyone is on the books. People are working cash in hand. And
John, you know, that is you know, absolute lie, and it's plain and simply a lie, and it's not true. The amount of immigrants here who aren't working do not outweigh the people who are working, and
that's
and you know what, if someone has a steady job and it is a good job, you know, obviously I wouldn't expect them to leave the country, but the reality is that we would get so many out of our nation if we just said anyone who doesn't have a steady job, that's all they needed to do was to say, if you're not working, we can no longer sustain you. You know, is that hard to do, John? You know, if you're not working, we're not going to sustain you. Go to your own nation, and they can sustain you, because we can only sustain what we have. Is that not? Is that not common sense? Is
yeah.
that not what every household has to do on a monthly or a weekly basis? Is to have they have an income and they have to stick within their budget. We're not sticking within our budget within the UK, and it has to stop. You know, and for me, that's just common sense. For you, that's just common sense. For these people, it's insanity. It's insanity. I don't know, but they're the people that's been voted in, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It is the people who've been voted in. Just showing some of my pictures there of Ireland, Northern Ireland. I can't wait to go next year as well. I'm going to make it an every year thing. It's going to be definitely 100%. I loved it. So patriotic, and this time I spent a lot of area in this. I spent a lot of time on the March Day in the Sandy Row area, and although I did see, I mean, I talked to a lot of people. I had some of my leaflets on. People recognised me. They were talking to me. And, you know, I did see some, like, I did talk to some guys who were pissed up, and they were saying horrible things to some people, but nothing particularly bad. But, you know, I got a real feel for the area, and everyone were nice with me. You know, and I couldn't fault it. We did actually go to that pub, the Queen's or whatever, the Royal. We went there the second day morning rear when I met some of the others when they come over on plane, and they'd been the year before, and we was only in a couple of minutes, and a guy's come over, remembering seeing little Roy and Maxine and this other woman. Remembered seeing them from last year, and come over, started talking to us, just made us feel nice and welcome and that. And then on parade day, I just felt dead welcome. I kept going in and out of pub to the toilet, got the odd pint every now and then, but I just felt dead welcome. You know, I loved it. So it was great, a lovely day. No trouble, didn't see any trouble anywhere or anything.
Well, John, as you know, we actually flew out of Belfast that night, so I got very little of the parade this year, which I was absolutely gutted. I only seen a wee bit of it before I had to go, because I had so much to do. Unfortunately, that's the first ever I haven't seen both sides of the parade. It's the first time ever. It was for good cause though, and as I say, you know, it was the first time we haven't been down at the likes of Sandy Row, or we would sometimes go to the field, or like it's the 11th and 12th of July. It's my favorite holiday. Christmas doesn't even compare. So it is one of the best times of the year, and highly recommend to all my patriotic friends. You will love it. But yeah, I mean, I always say this about people from Northern Ireland. We are so friendly. We don't ask, you know, any questions when we meet you, and it's something that I've said throughout. And you know, you're talking about Catholics and Protestants joining together over these protests and stuff, John. And it's something I have always said. You know, when we are helping each other in the likes of our mixed areas like Belfast city centre, or you know, a lot of people would venture into both ends of the city. And when we are helping each other, we don't ask each other the religion. You know, if there's someone in need, we'll help them. And I know it is in our culture to do that, and a lot of people would be the same as myself in that regard. is that we are kind and we do help each other. And for me, that's a British quality that we won't walk past. But you know, that's again changed on the mainland. That's not a thing anymore on the mainland, but it is something that old time Brits would have absolutely been proud of, is that they wouldn't see anyone in need. But unfortunately, it's not like that anymore. And I think more people need to start reaching out to people that they see in the street, and that neighbour that, you know, you maybe smile at every day. Have a chat with them, because it takes nothing to be nice, John, and it does strike up conversations, and it gets people talking about the issues, and it makes people realise that they're not facing these issues alone.
Yeah, you're right. But you know what? I'll be honest again with everyone. When I talk to people, and a few people said this, you know, even though it was massive to me, and there was thousands of people, there was people saying that it's getting smaller every year. That's what people said. Really? I'm looking right now. How can you tell that? And there were people saying, listen, mate, he said, like 10 years ago, you won't be able to move anywhere. And, you know, you know, and a lot of them did say that you know, it's getting smaller. And you know, I talked to people on Sandy Row about, like, you know, did he want their history getting rid of, you know, like what they liked, you know, how did he feel that Christianity is under attack, and Catholicism and all that is under attack, and stuff, you know. And it's really patriotic. It's really refreshing, actually. I haven't seen stuff like this, me, since like the 90s, the early 90s in the UK. I haven't seen nothing like this, but I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I'm having a week next year. That's a full 7 days I'm having.
John, listen, I'm just going to turn my cam off and I'm going to move here. So if you don't mind, I'm going
No worries.
But yeah, John, yeah, it is. It's an amazing time to be in Northern Ireland if you're able to be here around the 11th, 12th. It was so great to have you the year before, and I know this year we'll definitely be together, and we'll watch the parade hopefully together then next year.
Definitely. It was great. The bonfires as well, guys. You wouldn't believe some size of some of them bonfires. Let me just I have got some pictures of. That's the Lansdowne Road police station, and there was a bit of trouble on Lansdowne Road last week or week before, as Jolene said. So yeah, and look at them fences. So them are girders going into the ground. So these aren't just like little. These are reinforced fences. These. I went up to them. I kicked them. I tried to move them. And unlike cheap fence that you have outside your house, you couldn't do that with any of them. So them are like anti-ram fences. Them really.
John, you see, the IRA would have targeted all the police stations, and then what seemed to happen is a lot of the areas where, like, there would be police stations, but then a lot of nationalists moving in around it. And it's strange now looking at those big buildings, because they're actually nationalist areas. John, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Because I do apologise, because I'm on the move here. So I do apologise if the audio is not great. But yeah, as I say, you know, a lot of these larger police stations, they are they're now in nationalist areas, but they weren't when they were obviously at the height of the Troubles, because they would have been targeted by the IRA. So that's why a lot of them have so much security up, because they would have been main targets.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected them to be anything less, but yeah. But you know, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. Let's just get some bonfire pictures up now, guys. Let's just bear with me. Just bear with me. I will get some bonfire pictures up.
Did you see many fires on the 11th, John?
Where was it? No, not really. Not really, except for the one outside the club where you had your do. That was unbelievable. So it's in the middle of the road and like a corner. It's not a big road, just a small street. And I turned around to this guy and said, "Excuse me, mate." So he listened. He could hear the like British accent, the Manchester accent. And then he looked at me. I said, the boards on the windows, is that on purpose or are they abandoned houses?" He says, "It's on purpose." "Is that to protect them from fire?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Look up at the guttering." And when we looked up at the guttering were bending, with the heat of the fire. But you would have never have been allowed to do anything like that. We did see, we've seen a lot of, this is the one near, this is near Sandy Row, I think, the town centre area. And I read an article about the land that they use that on. They've been trying to develop it, or it's abandoned land, but it's not been developed yet. So they've had the bonfire on. And if you can look carefully there, guys, you can actually see Palestine flag on side of, there it is, Palestine flag on side of bonfire. And I think the biggest bonfire had a mock police car up, didn't it? That made the news and everything.
The heat with the bonfires, it's something that has obviously caused issue in the past, but most streets where the bonfire is actually close to the house, they will have done this every single year. So you'll find there's a lot of old ladies who, like, if they didn't have the bonfire and have to board their windows up, they would be highly annoyed. And bonfires obviously move if the land is developed, which to be honest with you, I've never spoken to a bonfire builder who hasn't said that they want the land developed, and they will move their bonfire. But yeah, it used to be years ago, John, that it would have been those wee fires all over the place, and then kind of the competitiveness and the bigger ones came in. But they would have been on every street corner. Not that long ago, in my mum's time, it would have been like that. And maybe, even when I was little, there would have been a lot more on street corners like the one from the street that we were in. And they would have been quite close to houses, and people would have hosed their homes down, or they would have had the boards up and stuff like that. So now the fires are mostly put in well spacious areas, where they're not going to harm property. But there is a few where they do still cause issue. But a lot of the residents wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it just fantastic. I loved every minute of it. I love every minute of it. So we're coming up to the hour, guys. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. We've got 740 odd. A lot of them are on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, please follow our party. I put the link into the Twitter thing, and as you can see at the bottom is our admin email and our PayPal link. I've got some leaflets ordered me. Just A5, one sheet A5, two sides, one on both sides of the A5 sheet, and I'm going to use that up to when I run my election in 2026, and then I'll have a leaflet for that. But I've got a lot of door knocking to do, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm loving it. But as you heard Jolene say, and you've heard me say a lot of times, we're never going to sort anything until we vote these people out, and we have the power, guys. If everyone voted, we'd have the government out. We'd be able to sort things out, and we'd be able to straighten out our country. But people either don't think about it or don't want to do it, think it's a waste of time, and then you've got people telling them not to vote because they're just as stupid. But nothing's going to change until we join. You get voting, and remember, guys, if we vote, we can have referendums and things like that. So we can come out of the UN 1951 Refugee Convention. We can scrap our hate laws and stuff like that. We can sort the police out if we vote differently and stop letting them be politically motivated like they are. and
John,
stuff like that.
John, just to warn you and everyone else, I wouldn't be making a manifesto until closer to an election, because this Labour government are going to destroy our nation within this 4 years. I can just see it coming. So I wouldn't be making any promises until the next election, because there are going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to undo. We, if we can get the people behind us, John, as I say, it's important that leaders come forward, because it's all well and good, you and I standing for election. We're two people. You need an army. And we need people to get behind us, as people who have put their head above the parapet and said, look, we're here. We want to talk about these difficult subjects. And listen, John, I never turned down an opportunity to speak out against immigration, because I'm one of the very few people who isn't afraid, and even I get the wobbles sometimes when I hear some of the stories, especially coming from mainland England, of our judiciary system, who are just destroying people's lives over the stupidest things, and how it affects you is unbelievable. And as I say, I have court cases ongoing. As you know, I've been through multiple court cases in the past, and I know how it affects your life. And for all the people who have put their head above the parapet and have spoken out, and the police have wrapped the door, stay strong, keep your head up, and just know that you're doing the right thing for your children, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the bullies, a lot of people have gone guilty because they've been intimidated and bullied when they've been in. They've had things said to them like, well, if you go not guilty and you get found guilty, you'll be going away for 10 years. And they've been threatening them. And it wouldn't work with me, because it just won't work with me. They would not be able to do that with me. A few people have gone not guilty. We're going to be following a veteran who's up next year. February's up for a trial in Wales. So we're going to get down to that trial. And I think there'll be a few other trials and court cases around Manchester and Leeds that I might get to support people, because I'm just not having them treated like, some people haven't done nothing wrong compared, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they let people, them guys who was in the Manchester airport incident, they haven't been arrested for smashing 3 coppers in before they got beat up by the coppers, but they haven't been arrested and they're still out.
John, that's the thing. That's the thing about our justice system. It's one-sided. It is completely
It is
biased.
two-tier, isn't it? No, it is.
It's disgusting, and it what we also need badly within the movement, John, and within our circles, are legal people. We just don't seem to have any lawyers or solicitors who are willing to speak out. I have had advice from lawyers and solicitors who just wouldn't represent me because of the subject, because they're too afraid, because they know that they will be hit by the establishment. So we need people who are maybe thinking of their future careers to start thinking in the legal terms, in regards to our human rights, because they're being dwindled away rapidly, and it is about time that we did have solicitors and lawyers behind us. And again, if anyone's listening to this and they want to reach out to myself or John on that, please do, because we really need people who are clued in with the law for advice more than representation. But John, can you imagine if we knew what we were talking about when we were going into these courts?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we
Honestly,
are so, our ancestors protected us for this situation, and they have protected us with the Magna Carta, and instead of embracing it and demanding that the law recognises it, we're listening to absolute nonsense. And the reality is, if we could just find someone who was willing to take this as far as it would go, we could have more protection within the ancient rights of our nation. You know, we are protected by our forefathers, and they did think of this. And I've read the text, and I've looked at the documentation, and we are protected in our free speech laws.
well, we don't even have free speech. As I was always told when I said, I have freedom of speech. I remember being corrected and being told it's freedom of expression we have. Both, for me are the same thing. But within our freedom of expression, we are protected, and we have to use the law to our favor. But unfortunately, we don't have the minds manipulating the law to go in our favor. So yeah, we definitely need people who are clued up on the law to be at least in the background giving advice and helping us out, because it's something that we're lost for.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, we've come to our hour. I'm sorry that Pat weren't on. He's got a sore back, and I think Paul's got an orange meeting or something. He has them pretty regular. But thank you very much, Jolene. It's I'm honoured again to have you on. Brilliant time in Northern Ireland. You've looked after us well, I must say. The 2 years on the run, you really have looked after us well. Your wedding was fantastic. I loved the evening bit when we come back in the evening talking to people and stuff like that. You had that big guy drumming in the, it was just
Really?
amazing. It's really refreshing though, because I mean, I go to weddings, but they're not like they used to be. I've never been. It's been years since I've been to a wedding that there was anything like yours. Just brilliant.
John, I wanted something unique, and it was certainly unique. And you'll have to get me all the photos and videos and stuff over as well.
I will. I remember the guy at the service. Don't be sending all them photos out yet. And I thought, well, I better not do. I'll settle it down a bit. But I have got some cracking photos and little videos. I'll send them to you. That'd be brilliant.
Brilliant, John. John, listen, it's been great being on, and thank you so much. And anytime you want to have a chat, I'm happy to come on and have a yarn, because I love catching up with you, both you and Pat and Paul. Send my love to everyone, and yeah, stay in touch.
I will do. Thank you very much, Jolene. Thank you very much. And
Thanks,
thank you, chat. And thank you to the chat. You can follow Jolene on Twitter. I'll just get a handle up on Twitter.
Yeah, thanks everyone for the chat. I haven't been actually reading the chats, John. But yeah, anyone who if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, I'll keep an eye on the Twitter messages over the next few days. Send me a wee message on Twitter. And John, I'll speak to you soon.
You certainly will, love. Thank you very much.
Night, darling. Night, everyone.
So there's Jolene, that Jolene Bunting UK. Thank you very much, everyone. 811 people in the chat, and I think 600 of them, 523 are off Twitter. This is NHP UK. My name's John Lawrence, leader of the party, and you just listen to me and Jolene talking about immigration, Ireland, culture, what's happening in our history and stuff like that. We'll have many more times we'll be going to Ireland. But thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. God bless you and good night.